Folks, I am in London. Yes, that is right. The UK, baby. I've made it across the pond. And as always, it's thanks to the ring. And I am here for one reason and one reason only. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn goes down this Saturday. Myself and my brother True Jordy are going to be hitting a watch party for this fight on Saturday night, live on my channel, live on Jordy's channel, live on the Ring Magazine channel, and live on DAZN proper. You don't want to miss it. We have guests coming through. We have an exciting night, events, activities, and of course the fight. Do not miss out. I'm going to be telling you guys all week. Stay tuned. But today I've just arrived in London and my sleep schedule's a lot of whack. It's late. It's about 10 o'clock. But today I want to talk about the first glimpses we get of the fighters during fight week. That's the open workout. We didn't see much from either guy, but there were some hidden gems in both workouts and things you can take away leading into the fight. But things that may matter more than the open workout for the fight we're going to talk about as well, including some sparring stories we're hearing out of Conor Benn's camp and some potential weight issue stories we're hearing out of Chris Eubank's camp. There's a lot going down, and all of it makes me think I have no idea who is going to win this thing. So let's get into it, because I think this fight is even more close than I previously thought. And for one of the two fighters, it's super dangerous. What do I mean? The breakdown, let's go. All right, so like I said, today was open workouts for Chris Eubank, Conor Benn, and we got to see everybody kind of do what they do for open workouts. But as we look toward the main event, a couple things we've seen on the side of Chris Eubank has been the double-sided coin, and that is almost for everything that Chris Eubank Jr. does. For example, his size. It is a benefit to him because he will be the bigger man. He will be the biggest guy that Conor Benn has ever fought. At a weight class Conor Benn has never fought at 160 pounds. So massive benefit there, but also to his detriment, he will have to cut to 160. He's done that in his last 3 or 4 fights, but the rehydration clause is going to make it a lot worse because he can't just rehydrate back up to whatever he is. And quite frankly, Chris Eubank Jr. is already a lean, mean fighting machine at 168 pounds. So that extra 8 pounds to come off and him not being able to replenish as quickly as he probably needs to, is going to have him looking costly. So this shit's going to be brutal. I'm just going to tell you, that weight cut is not going to be fun at all. And there's rumors out there, and again, it's mostly from Eddie Hearn, who's probably just trying to stir the pot, but he's saying he's already hearing that Chris Eubank Jr. is having trouble making the weight. I honestly wouldn't even doubt that because, yeah, he's getting older. And again, I talk about that double-sided coin. How about his experience? Chris Eubank Jr. has far more experience at a higher level than Conor Benn does, but he's also long in the tooth, and we all know at this point he's probably on his sunset tour of the sport of boxing right now. I don't think he has much longer in the sport. So again, the story for Chris Eubank coming into this, the double-sided coin. How much does he have left? His size being an advantage, his weight cut being a disadvantage, his experience being an advantage, his age and years on his body in the sport of boxing being a disadvantage. On the other side, you have Conor Benn, who's unproven, a guy that obviously has been inactive over the last 3 years because of the PED allegations and the findings in court, and having to go through all that process, then coming back and moving to 154 for a fight, and now coming to 160. He's still really young. There's just a lot of question marks. Is he built for this level of the sport? We don't know because we haven't seen him at that level. But we're going to get those answers on Saturday. So let's go ahead and look at the open workout. And I want to show you guys some of the stuff that I saw that I thought were big things. With Conor Benn, when he hits the mitts, there is no holding back. Now, he's not throwing these punches while sitting down on them, but he is putting some fire behind that because he knows one speed, and that speed is go, right? That's how Conor Benn fights. That's how I assume he spars, and we'll get to why I think that in a little bit, but this is a guy that has some big-time power in his hands. Now, how is that going to translate at 160? I don't know. We saw in the Liam Smith fight that Chris Eubank Jr. can get put down, and again, Liam Smith, not the craziest puncher in the world, but this is what I really liked about the Conor Benn workout. The head off center line, the bend in the knees as he comes forward here, right? Yes, he's moving forward in a straight line, but his body is not. You see head off center, feints, move forward. Look at his shoulder level, right? Level change, level change, level change. And when he does dip down low here, right, in these areas, this is where I think he needs to be. Now, it's taxing on the legs, right? Think of a Mike Tyson style of fighting that's going to be so much to do with explosiveness and using your legs to get you into position to deliver deadly and lethal combinations because, yeah, Conor Benn's like 5'8", 5'7". He's not going to have the ability to stick the jab out there and touch Chris Eubank Jr. and then set up his power by just picking him apart from the outside. He's going to have to get inside of that jab of Eubank Jr. and make things happen when he's there. So this I like. I like, again, the twitchiness of it, the explosion of it. He's going to need to be the more twitchy, more explosive fighter. And again, I would give him those credits right now as the younger fighter. I would give him those credits. And you see it here, right? As he attacks, boom, 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 off center, big time explosive movements, which again, you want to talk about that gift and curse, that 50-50, that flip of the coin. This stuff can definitely benefit Conor Benn in short spurts, right? Attacking on the way in, right hand, boom, flip the angle, roll. Now we're working to the body, bang. Bang. Again, bang, switching angles, bang. All that stuff is explosive. It is awesome to see, and it is effective. But the question is, for how long is it effective? For how long can you sustain this? For how long will Conor Benn be able to be explosive and twitchy? Because for that time period, I think he is dangerous to Chris Eubank Jr. Look at the freaking movement in his hips. And when he sets his feet, he is ready to throw, man. Bang, bang, switch, bang, uppercut, roll, right hand down the middle. Now, again, this all looks great in the open workout, and it looks fantastic on the mitts, and he looked so sharp today at his open workout. If they fought today, I think that Conor Benn probably beats him, because when I saw it, I'm like, man, this guy looks so damn sharp right now. But my question is, and it's the biggest question I think that maybe everybody's asking leading into this fight, is how long can you do that for? How long can you be that in a high-level fight against a guy that's been at least tested and maybe failed some of those tests, but he's been competed at the world level, and Conor Benn just has. Because again, if Eubank Jr. can weather the storm, I have to think that this is the game plan for both guys, that Conor Benn tries to go out and finish this fight early, and I'll say before like the 7th round starts, and if it gets past that point, that Chris Eubank could potentially come on really strong at the end of the fight and either get himself a late stoppage or, a comeback decision win or something like that. But I have to think that's the most likely scenario of what happens here. It's not just this open workout, but let's go to an interview from his father, which again, believe what you want to out of the people supporting their guys. You can believe Eddie Hearn when he says that he's heard Chris Eubank Jr. is having weight issues and he's not going to make weight. Or you can believe Nigel Benn, Conor Benn's father, when he talks about how Conor Benn did in sparring with the current IBF super middleweight champion William Skull, who's about to fight Canelo Alvarez on May 3rd in Riyadh.
He's not a 12-round fight, he can do 15 rounds. When he was sparring with Skull, he was up in the pace. He was meant to do 10 rounds, and he only managed 7.5. You worked that out. You worked that out. My little boy. So I'm not saying no more. Why do you think I've got a big smile on my face? Do I look like I'm threatening? Oh my gosh, not at all. It will not go past 4 rounds. Everybody's got this weight about Eubanks. Oh yeah, he's a big mate. You didn't see what Conor was doing with world-ranked fighters. You didn't see William Skull.
Believe what you want to believe, and sparring is different from fighting. And by the way, yeah, I'm not a big fan of people talking about sparring unless it's the fighters that ignite it and talk about their own experience with sparring, and then there's a back and forth if they're fighting. I'm not a big fan of the camps doing it, but it is what it is. But in this case, it is useful information. If Conor Benn, I don't know if this is a one-time occurrence or whatever, but if he's putting it on and making the current IBF super middleweight champion of the world quit in a spar, that's a natural, let's say, guys probably walking around in 185 to 190 pounds fighting at 168. That's not uncommon in combat sports. That gives us a little insight as to what potentially we could be looking at with Conor Benn's power carrying up to 160. Does that mean that's what's going to happen in the fight? No. Does that mean that Conor in the sparring room, if he's going hard and keeping that pace and keeping that tempo and he's able to be explosive for the 8 to 10 rounds or whatever they were going with, and even Nigel saying he could do 15, that all sounds great when there's not this massive crowd and you don't get that adrenaline dump and you're not in front of the bright lights and the biggest fight of your life and 70,000 people. It's going to be different, but it is useful information if you choose to believe it. I'm giving you options here. I'm not saying you have to believe anything I've said or the promoters are saying, but I'm just giving you options. That's all. And as far as Eubank Jr. is concerned, when I watched his open workout today, there wasn't much to take away from it. I think he's with Coach Banks this time around. He's been with Bomac, he's been with Roy Jones, he's been with his father. His whole message this week has been that the fight will be about the skills. It won't be about the fact that Junior is bigger than Conor Benn. It won't be about the fact that Junior has to make a weight cut. It won't be those things. It'll be the skills involved. And when we talk about the skills involved, Junior does have a great jab. I think he has great poise when he's mentally locked into a fight. And I think, honestly, he's probably more locked in mentally to this fight than he even was the rematch for Liam Smith. That's the way it feels like he's talking about this fight. And the way he's treated this fight is locked in to a different degree. And I think when he's like that and he has a certain amount of control, and trust me, it looks like he needs control when it comes to, you know, his coaches or whatnot, because there's never a stable base. There's never any stability in his coaching, in his training, quite frankly, because there's always a new thing going on. But he is the one that's in control of all that. So if he can maintain that, and when I say control, I mean control the distance, control the pace of the fight, control of the damage that Conor Benn is going to try to inflict that Junior cannot, absolutely cannot get caught up in early. I think those are the massive factors for the fight. And I don't think Junior's going to back down. I don't think he's going to just Olay, like he's talking about, be the matador to Conor Benn's bull. I think he's going to meet him at certain points and try to show the smaller guy, you're not going to push me around this ring. No matter how much you did whatever you did in sparring to bigger guys, I'm not going to allow that to happen here. And those moments will be so key for the fight. Legitimately, I think that could be where the fight's won or lost, is in those moments where Eubank Jr. decides to go from matador to bull himself and meets Conor head on in the middle. They won't be very long exchanges, but for the length of them, if he can gain respect and if he can slow Conor Benn down, the fight, in my opinion, changes very quickly. If he's not able to do that and Conor Benn is successful in those exchanges and makes Eubank Jr. get back on his bike and makes him take the back step and makes him take the back foot, those things are going to be massively indicative of where the fight's going. And again, when I watch him on the pads, I don't see anything over the top glaring or anything like that. But at the same time, at this point, what is there to see? You know what you're going to get, I think, from both guys. I think that Conor is going to be the faster fighter. I do. I think he's going to be the faster fighter, the more explosive fighter. But in pockets, Junior's experience and his timing can potentially beat that speed. And his precision can potentially beat that explosion. So when I talk about them meeting in the middle, can Eubank Jr. shorten up his hooks? Can he be a better inside fighter than the smaller guy? Can he get to the spot not quicker, but with more precision and with better timing when Conor Benn opens up with big damaging shots? Can those things make the difference? All right, so I think that's all the news that we can cover right now as it sits. Before we get the press conference tomorrow, before we get the weigh-ins, there's a lot of drama that potentially can happen in the next 2 days. So stay by your mobile device, your computer, and stay subscribed to The W.A.D.E Concept. We're covering pro boxing over here, influencer boxing, and MMA. We're doing it all, man. It's all because of this right here. The Ring. Big shouts to them for presenting my show and allowing me to be here in London with you guys. And we're going to have a great night on Saturday. Make sure you guys tune in to the watch party. Me, True Jordy, having a ball all night and watching some fun-ass fights. What happens in this fight? We still got 2 days to go and some obstacles to get through, so I don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.